Dear friends, glad to meet you all on Feygin Live. It is Friday, August 12th, 1 minute past 10 Kiev time, and we're doing another stream, day 170 of this war, with Olexiy Arestovich. Good evening, Olexiy. Good evening, everyone. Over 100,000 watching us live. Over 18,000 clicked the like button. Thank you, dear friends. You're spending your Friday night with us. That's important for us. Also, please share the links to these streams in your social media. Subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovich, and to the Privateer station if you have not done that, to enjoy that stream in English. Please also click the bell so you do get the notifications about our new releases, new videos. Alright, let's start. 170, that's a long war. And by the way, us personally, me and Olexiy, have never met in real life. You know, people think we're playing pool. Yeah. Actually, we do have quite a few recordings going a few years back, and we have not met. Remember, if our users are attentive, they might have heard that I did ask you, how tall are you? If we met in person, I would never ask that question. Yeah, I'm 6'5"-ish. So my mom was feeding me well, I guess, in kindergarten. And I was also doing a lot of sports. So what's up? What happened on the front? Today, I want to defer to the statement of our General Command. People think we are good with words. I think they are better. Today, they released a statement that said the enemy had partial success in Bakhmut area. That means that they pushed our troops to the west of Bakhmut town, to the west part of Bakhmut town. So that means that the area of Bakhmut is now partially colored with gray, not white that we surely have, but gray. That's the area that the fighting is going for on this map. And we do not regret. So what's the distance they walked? Perhaps a kilometer, maybe 1.5. I do call upon our citizens and viewers that they don't lose their heads, because I've seen in Telegram all kinds of statements that Bakhmut is given up, that the fighting is on the eastern outskirts. I'm calling upon the most depressed ones to not be, because the price they're paying for that 1.5 kilometers, their tempo of advancement is such that it will not allow them to take more towns. At the very best, they will end at the outskirts of these cities with huge losses. We will not repeat the destiny of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. They will wear themselves out on the outskirts or attempts to take our towns. So is there any other place where they got any success? On Izyum area, on this map, they colored Devgenka again for enemy, but see that protrusion in the middle-ish, towards 3 and 4. So our correspondents, they are saying that no, we actually have that area, and our troops are advancing towards Kamenka, to that first green tent that you see in the middle. But we'll meet maybe tomorrow. I don't know if we'll meet tomorrow, but okay. It will be visible in a day or two who advanced where and who won over whom. Our idea here is do no harm, so let's take a bit of a pause commenting the details there. But there's some commotion going. On the other front, not much changes, same attempts to storm places, attacked or kicked back, fell back. Our favorite place, the south of Ukraine, Kherson, New Kakhovka, there was a lot of explosions there, fireworks. The disco continues because we keep taking out their warehouses and everything they stockpiled. I'm not even counting them daily because it indeed is a daily routine now. Which is sort of a sunrise and sunset. Regular and systematically, we're taking out their supply lines. Their supply lines and their backup routes and logistics on the right bank of Dnieper. HIMARS are working fine, and Brits also gave us 3 machines. I mean 3 HIMARS M270 from Britain. They have 12 missiles instead of HIMARS 6. That's our Minister of Defense announced today. So everything happening there is planned actions, planned wearing out of the enemy. And the trouble of this war that it is given to people through news. And according to news cycle, every day something needs to happen, otherwise there's nothing to discuss. But one needs to understand that this is not exactly a proper view of the war. The war of 2 armies with about the same type of equipment, it is always a lengthy accumulation of steps on a certain element of the front, on a certain section of the front, to be realized. So you accumulate things gradually and then they change rapidly. So that's the core of this war. So Russian regrouping of their troops to the south is mostly done, and our planned work on them is targeting both their front and their supply lines, and it does take time to wear out a big group that they have. So remember what was near Severodonetsk. There was a thunderous roar of Russian artillery, jets flying over against our fighters. That's what was back then. Right now, it's maybe a third of the effectiveness of what they have. And Russian command is kind of pressed to make a sensation out of them capturing the right wall of a cow farm and turning it almost in a Stalingrad battle. So it's not boring, it's just the way it goes. The events that we'll be discussing that will create huge media splashes, they will happen in the near times. But one does need to understand that the rhythm of this war is different, is special compared to the daily cadence. Every news channel that is looking for daily news on this war, sometimes they do come to having nothing to discuss. This is just the dynamics of the current front. You know, that dynamics that is not too in a hurry, that can be interesting. It can be interesting for those people who have their close ones living there. Mark, there is another pitfall here, that one needs to understand that there are a lot of reviewers, military-style specialists who love to comment on every hill being taken. Today they've taken the right side of that village. Here's the sun, here's the MLRS system, here maybe they'll capture that machine gun position, and there was a whole tank on the right side of this theater. This is understandably interesting for those people, but this is not our level. So we're sticking with the strategic view, strategic zoom of this war. So I'm addressing those people who are saying that Feygin and Arestovich saying nothing is changing, but our guys are dying there. Yes, our guys are dying there, and they're forcing the enemy troops to perish. This is the content of every war. But every war has a strategic frame. That's what we're holding. We're holding at the strategic level. This is our niche. That's what we review. And of course, there is a ton of resources. You can always find more details, more comments if you want to. But on this level, there are no sensations 15 times a day. Even once a day, it seldom ever happens. But we are concentrating our view on the more strategic level things, and frankly, most of our citizens' fears are not related with a tank that appearing somewhere in Bakhmut. It's mostly related to strategic perspectives that they don't understand or expect something to happen or not expect something to happen. So our task is to explain, will there be a war, will not be a war with Belarus, there will not be massive missile strike or nuclear strike or enemy marching and taking Marinka, Avdiivka, and anything else rapidly. So this is our angle. I'm quite sure that our viewers that are watching us for 170 days, almost all of them that we had a stream on, they do understand what are we concentrating on and what picture do we paint. I think it's easy for them to check their feelings with the real picture of events. How correct are we in our estimates? Some people like to parasitize on that, especially Kremlin trolls. They do attack us relentlessly that we're too optimistic painting this picture, but we're approaching 6 months of this war, and even not the best school kid does understand that this war has not achieved the goals that Russian command has set in front of their troops. And we're still interested in some details, so let's look at a few more spots. What's the situation like around Zaporozhye nuclear power plant? Nothing changed. Nobody was going to, the Russian side, to follow the international calls for withdrawal from the station zone and fall back to a certain distance away from it. You know geography better. Where would that mean moving to? And I understand that Russians continue shelling Nikopol from the station, right? Because we do need, let's show the map. See that big square with the blue reservoir? That is a power station. I understand there are 6 energy blocks there. To the 10, 11 o'clock from there, to 10, 11, that's Nikopol. That's Ukrainian city. And Russians keep shelling Nikopol from station territory. And this is the reason for Moscow to claim that with the response fire, Ukrainian military hit areas very close to the station or sometimes on its territory. So you tell me, please, this is a sort of blackmail, right? They took that station, and it's only 15.4 kilometers, so about 12, 13 miles away from Nikopol. So you think if they do not leave, and in my view, they will not leave the territory of Zaporozhye nuclear plant, and everything remains as is, and the situation will de-escalate itself. They will stop shelling Nikopol, and Nikopol will stop pushing back. Or that situation will be kept as a backup card option, basically to threaten everybody, saying that, oh, if you misbehave, we'll blow everything up. Today, that idiot Medvedev, and I keep looking at his official statements, that's ridiculous. He did say that you behave there with your sanctions, because, things may be exploding. And in my opinion, yeah, that was on record. That statement went somewhere in his file for the post-war tribunal, because he was basically threatening Europe with using means that can destabilize nuclear situation there. What do you think? I don't think they'll blow the station up on purpose. We just need to understand that their command is so left-handed, in a bad way, that them just being there, just storing shells and storing military equipment on the territory of this station will bring to some events. They already broke some power lines, some elements of the cooling system, not critical yet, but that is what's going on. And just for demonstration, they're also creating some explosions around it, just to demonstrate the threat and to push back on everybody. And it's always a threat. Some missile, some shell may have faulty components, may hit something in flight and change a course, so things may happen. And they keep, even though that's what they're creating around their technically important objects, they keep saying that things smoke in wrong places, violate different rules, and cause explosions. So you have to understand that this public from Putin's regime is continuously provoking nuclear catastrophe in the middle of Europe. All these assessments were released, and let's see what will happen later. You know, it's kind of funny. In this war, very paradoxically, the transfer of strategic event to Ukraine was marked by two news. I'll keep quiet about the third for now. So first, McDonald's is back to Ukraine. This is true, and you can laugh at that, but to Kiev? First to the west of Ukraine and Kiev, and then to other towns. And second was destruction of Russian air detachment in Crimea. So the initiative is moving towards Ukraine now, and it is up to our thinking paradigm to shift as well, because very soon it will not be Russian command dictating the objects that will be attacked, what will be happening. It will be Ukrainian. And that initiative is in the process of transfer, and the decision and solution for the key questions will be on the Ukrainian army. Russians will not have much to do with it. Our army already proved, even back in 2014, that we can liberate some towns without even storming them. We just surround them, same as with Bucha, Gostomel, and Irpin. We just started to surround the area, and they had to withdraw. Similar things can happen with Energodar, with Kherson, with other locales. We know how to do that, and that's what will be happening. All right. We have 333,000 people watching us live. Over 100,000 click the like button. Thank you, dear friends. Please share that stream everywhere you can. Those who are just joining us, we've been live for about 19 minutes, so share that everywhere you can. If you are from Russia, and if you're brave enough, you can dare or post anonymously or send through Messenger, send it. Or you can, if you're brave, you can post in some Russian social media, like Classmates and VK. And subscribe to Olexiy Arestovych in the description of this video, and subscribe to the Privateer station if you are watching that in English. So another interesting news, Putin discussed on his own Security Council in Moscow. There are no details. There was just a brief video from it. And today, United States did mention, as a response to their discussion of referendums in the occupied territories, that if you are staying on course to hold them, you will suffer more consequences. We're not letting you conduct these annexations without consequences. Officially, it is phrased as US will not recognize voting for joining Russian Federation in the occupied territories. So, do you think anything else may affect that referendum, besides the direct military events that can disrupt it. They have two plans. There is a big one, a joint country with annexing South Ossetia, more difficult with Abkhazia, Transnistria, of course, Donetsk and Lugansk, so-called republics, part of Kherson and Zaporozhye regions. So that's their big plan. And a small plan, one referendum, two referendum, whatever they have instead of parliaments in Donetsk and Lugansk republics, and we can call everything something else, and us in Belarus will recognize them. So it's either a big new subject or piecemeal, piecemeal, piecemeal. Anything Ukraine can do to stop that, to prevent that, besides fighting? Mark, I will say something that may be not popular right now, but it's true. This war stopped having existential character. It is more of a planned war right now. The question of survival, the question of fighting for your own life, a Ukrainian nation. What if the West abandons us? Will they get tired of it? All these subjects that were journalists discussing back in April, they're not stated up for a long time. We are wearing out the enemy according to the plans. We're getting supplies according to the plans. Everything has been planned moving forward. There is no falling back from this course under any circumstance, and we have plans to take out Russian army from the territory of Ukraine they occupied, feet forward. So it does take time to realize the strategic steps on the tactical level, and it takes time for routine to transpire, but it basically also means that everything has been decided on a strategic level, and nothing will help Putin return to big USSR, small USSR, all these referendums. We have a plan to take everything back, and we will. Bird's eye view. In the world, there is a discussion from what I see, what I observe, not from open sources as well, what to do with the Russia that lost. So the discussion center focused to that direction. Rebuilding of Ukraine, updating the security system in Europe, and what to do with the failed and lost regime of Putin after this war. Because nobody has any qualms about whether Russia wins or loses this war. It was an open question just 2 months ago. And I'll tell you when it stopped being such. When they took Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, everybody wanted to see the next scale of Russian offensive. They saw what was going on, and they understood there's nothing to worry. So they took major decisions. Your commission is discussing more restrictions on visas for Russian citizens, but all that story is about Putin not having enough resources to relaunch that war in a different scenario. Besides the scenario of Russian defeat militarily and politically here in Ukraine and in the world. This is the only scenario going on now, and they really don't have much leeway around it, and they're still following their own plan. By 11th of September, they'll do the referendum, kick United States in their sore spot, and the only thing they'll achieve is speeding up certain sanctions, that some things that could have been implemented in November instead will be implemented in September. There likely will be additional uptick in military weapons supply to Ukraine, and all that will lead to escalation and speeding up the crash, economic and political crash of Putin's regime in Russia. This is already discussed. This is what is being discussed as a done deal. Russian army and Putin regime could have changed this situation only in one way, maybe find somewhere 60, better 80 or 100,000 of cadre military, not these guys that they gathered from some jails, volunteers, or drunks, or people they find in Lugansk and Donetsk. And even then, they may capture another couple of regional centers. They also would need, by the way, to have sanctions lifted up from them so they can continue building munitions for calibers and other missiles. But that would take more years to recover their capability. And the third, to use nuclear weapons en masse. And we understand third and second are versions of impossible. Even Belarus army, if they decided at some point to invade, would not change anything. And they understand that rather clearly. Otherwise, they would not be asking for peace talks or sending as the main conduit for the referendum idea Dmitry Medvedev, that Putin's boy, because all the smart guys jumped off the subject and it's only one idiot who's peddling it now. And it'll be easy to remove him when the party can say, well, what do you want? He's an idiot, he misunderstood the intention. We'll just take him off and correct that. The war already de facto moved to the Crimea territory. That's what we're talking about. We already have strategic initiative. They are trying to smash their head on the fortifications in Pesky, or they're reporting that they got to the western side of Bakhmut. A, they're lying. B, we'll send 3 more artillery divisions to that direction, and their advance will halt. So that reminds me of that piece from an old movie. Did the deceased sweat before they died? Yes. Oh, that's so good. Good. Yeah, that what reminds me. We stormed Pesky. We moved 3 more battalion tactical groups to the right side of Dnieper. We concentrated in Belarus 4 more S-300 complexes. Everything will change now. And people get an opinion that all these micey tactical shenanigans, they do mean something in this war. They don't mean anything. It's too late. This is like putting a compress on a dead body. Nothing will save Putin. And this will only keep growing as an avalanche. There'll be events showing directly to our viewers that the war, question as is, and the strategic is done. On the operative level, you can continue skirmishes down to the next summer, but strategically this war is done with. It's lost completely. They do understand that. You can see that in slippages of their propagandists and the way they pose questions during their shows, even in Russia. And I will always resist going into super minor details on the media level. In a cow farm in Pesky, Russian military took another wall. Everything is not as simple as they say. Feygin and Arestovych are just calming your attention down, and we already have lost 2 walls of the cow farm. This is horrible. Nothing can stop that army. Because Putin propaganda loves capitalizing on people's fears, and big continental war, rightly so, raises a lot of concerns with civilians. When I talk to them, I understand the level of the existential horror they see in their life. They see a cruise missile flying over their head, and they don't know what exactly it means. They're afraid it'll hit their house, everything will be destroyed. So imagine that old lady walking the street seeing that missile. What she sees that this missile maybe will destroy her house. There probably will be more missiles that will destroy her house and their neighbor's house and kill everybody. They don't know about our anti-air defense. They don't know that maybe it's only 1 missile out of 12 that was launched. So this is our position here. We need to keep telling people and explaining what does in fact it means, what it looks like. And it looks like a big ass turning close and coming closer to Putin's face, and is about to sit on it. We are not calming everybody down. We're just cold-bloodedly stating the events that are happening. We told you that they will switch to defense mode. I told you that back in June, when they were screaming that they're destroying our guys over on the Eastern Front. Did I tell you that? Yes. Are they defending? Yes, they are. And by the way, at the very least, we can say there is no offensive. There is no offensive maneuver to take Nikolaev that they promised August 6th. The question is still up. Why is it not happening? Oh, they're trying. They're sending small detachments here and there. They're also trying to take Pesky, Siversk, Davgenki. But it's, measure the temperature of the dead body. It's about nothing. They cannot. It's not that they don't want to. They have plans, but they can't. And more than that, that situation confirms our statements and things we told you a while ago. Them being incapable of achieving these goals, they continue to pose these tasks to their troops. This is the main thing you learn at the first year of the military. You never give a command that is not followed. One time the soldier, your subordinates do not follow a command, the system is done with. And in this case, the command, when they continue insisting on the unachievable tasks, is basically disrupting the trust on the soldier and officers level, and the lower ranks, even the middle ranks, to the commanders of brigades. And that's what they're calling their generals. They're calling them idiots and cretins who destroyed all Russian army. And Russian top-level command, with idiocy worth of medal, continues to disrupt faith not only in victory, nobody believes in victory, but even in any trust to their command. And what happens with the morale of a soldier, you think? When he already doesn't believe that he is there for the right reasons, that he's being shelled regularly, his friends are dying or dead, he's being also told he's not going home for rotation, and he understands that those people above him will never be able to even finish this war properly. They continue giving commands when, after some 3 days of storm, they're missing half the battalion and they get a new task. Our new task is, let's throw the enemy off the sky and we'll take Pesky again. He can only conclude that everybody above his commander is a complete idiot. And what do you think? After that, he takes a machine gun and runs to attack with a shout of hooray? That's it, Mark. This is a management crisis, a crisis of strategic solutions and decisions. To do nuclear blackmail, you have to be an idiot to use that tool or even consider using of that tool. What, the grain did not work, let's use nuclear? It kind of worked for them before, remember? It did work for them, remember, with passing the cargo to Lithuania? In small questions it might work. When you pose some horrible alternatives and start winking and telling, hey, we do have other options we can intimidate you with, and then it starts to work like, okay, well, let's release some of the railroad cargo to Kaliningrad. But when it's the destiny of the whole continent, and, we'll explode that thing, and there'll be a nuclear fallout throughout Europe. That causes a different reaction. It causes reaction, well, we'll bomb you. What do you mean you'll bomb us? Well, because we equalize that threat with the threat of a dirty nuclear bomb. We saw that in Chernobyl in a smaller scale compared to the possible here. And that's when they start pedaling back and saying, well, maybe let's be a little more accurate. Maybe let's still sit down and discuss. Look, we can remind our viewers of another thing. Just recently, 4 Ukrainian fighters with old missiles, like 1980s missiles, wiped out all Russian anti-air defense Panzers from the Russian-occupied side of Dnieper. NATO, when they have to, will be able to lift about 2,000 airplanes of a much more fresher design. Nothing will be left of Russian military targets in 3 days. In this case, what are you threatening to? What are you threatening Europe with? One needs to understand adequacy. Remember what we were afraid of from Putin, that he'll lose his adequacy, tear the shirt and say we'll blow everybody up with our nukes. But they're losing it in a different way. They're not losing it as the drunk airborne trooper. They're losing it as a poor first grader who was bullied by his peers and a little more, and yeah, they'll fall down in hysteria. So I can see a shadow of a huge catastrophe that is awaiting Putin's regime. It's on the door. These people are trying to stop it with messages about taking third and fourth wall of the cow farm in Pesky, but that's inadequate. I did tell you that we discussed it before. My prognosis was that successful visit of Nancy Pelosi against the symbolic visit, a symbolic saber rattling of China, that they likely have agreed about everything before she came. So here's an interesting piece of news. Look at that. First, Chinese officials say that the meeting of Xi Jinping with Biden, linked to Wall Street Journal at the G20 meeting, is planned. And that is immediately confirmed by American side, yes. White House confirms that they are organizing meeting of Biden and Xi. So Biden did call Xi Jinping 2 days before Nancy's visit. And in my personal opinion, they agreed about everything. They probably agreed also that the details of what we give, what each side gives, we can discuss in person. Let's not do it on the phone. We'll sit down and discuss it. See, Joe, and another thing, both sides are somewhat on par, size-wise, economy-wise, potential-wise. And now I'm calling upon our viewers. You understand that. Dear viewers, do you realize who will pay for that banquet? What can Biden and what can China generally agree to as a bonus? I think the conclusion is visible. It's on the table. It's Russia. You can say, what, how, where's the practical side of it? Right, Far East, Siberia, something else. Remember how Mao came to agreement with Nixon? There were a lot of critique of that. Kissinger was an architect. We are on the verge of Russia not being considered a side in that triangle, neither West nor China. A lot of things will be done at Russian expense. And this is also the result of war and the fallout of some allies and wish to consume others. Remember when the whole world, at the beginning of this war, regarding that big triangle, United States, Russia and China, would anyone in the West falter and decide to give up Ukraine? There are a lot of conversations about that, actually, since April last year, when there were some skeptics that, even on the main talk shows here in Ukraine, talking heads discussing, saying Americans will give up Ukraine because China is important for them and Russia is important for them. And now what? Sumy territorial defense changed the geopolitical layout on the planet? Let me increase that. Let me escalate. I don't think they just came to an agreement. Joe basically called up Xi Jinping to fight. Chinese promised to shoot down the plane. They did officially say that they threatened to shoot down American plane. This would actually mean the war between China and America. And Americans called them on that. They sent some of their navy, and the plane was flying in the air. And while we were fighting here with the war, people kind of forgot that piece. Americans actually called upon China with their 5 big military groups, with their 300 navy ships ready to fight. it's a big question where and whom did China fight with, but in regards of the numbers, they're pretty well looking. But Americans did have enough energy to look back and say, well, okay, let's see if you want to go fight with us. And what Chinese said? China said, well, fight is not in our plans. So they used all kinds of means to show that they want to negotiate. And that's what I'm saying. Everything that you're referring to is correct, but I suspect the outcome of these decisions will be more meaningful to the dwellers of Kremlin than they have had time to realize. You know, the audience of observers often say, what can the United States give China these days? Exactly. The United States does not really have much to give to China, but they can give certain things in regards to Russia. They already gave certain things to China, and everything else will be at the expense of somebody else. America would not be America otherwise. And I think they'll just re-agree on the new architecture of the world order. They may just withdraw and say, we're not holding China because of our friendship with Russia. If you want to do something, go do it. And in that new world, Putin's regime just doesn't have space. And then you do whatever you want. The regime is indeed weakening. It's weakened its positions in the world by a huge scale. So China and America will likely agree on the new world where there'll be no space for Putin left. There'll be new Yalta or new Potsdam, new Beijing meeting, but they'll without Putin's regime. That one will not be part of the. In Europe, they'll sign on the defeat, and in China, wherever they meet, they'll finalize the view of the global world without Putin. Vladimir, how are you feeling about it? Remember an old movie, Cruel Romance of the USSR times? And two people dividing a victim. Do you take her? Do I take her? Yeah, and Xi Jinping is saying, yeah, I'll take her. That's what Vladimir Putin led to 140 million populated country with the hugest territory in the world. What a success. Over 140,000 clicked the like button. Over 400,000 watching us live. And this is Friday, where people usually already halfway into their weekend. Thank you for joining us. Please share links to that stream. Subscribe to Feigin Live. We, I think, have about 10,000 left to reach 1.7 million subscribers. And, of course, to Olexiy's channel. Our artists are working on new designs for the merch, so please come to the European, American, and Ukrainian stores, buy t-shirts. We'll define new candidates next week among those who suffered. It's a difficult work. There are a lot of underwater obstacles in this one, but we are getting your appeals and reviewing them about civilians and military. Sometimes it's difficult to define which could have a priority. You know, we don't have a money printing thing, so we're raising everything with your effort in the store. And hey, you gotta wear something, right? You buy a t-shirt, a hat, a cap, an apron. Good for you and good for us and great for those families whom we can support. Olexiy, thank you again. I will wait for your answer about tomorrow. Everything will be on the fly. Goodbye.